Thanks for coming and doing this. Can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Steve Guberman.
Bob Harkleroad.
I'm Angela Margalit.
Wendy Long.
I'm Scott Wallode.
Glenn Tippy.
My name is Santosh, last name is Joshi.
Steve Rule.
Dan Beggs.
So when you joined TAB, was it on your radar to even sell your business?
I would be dishonest if I said that it wasn't on my radar. Yes, it was on my radar.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Yes and no.
Not even close.
Okay.
I would say it wasn't really until about at least year 4.
Eventually, yeah, it was, but it wasn't important. You know, it's a very distant target. You say it's radar, yeah, you hear some pinging, but it's way off in the future, barring bad events.
Actually, a year before I joined TAB, we did try to sell the company through a personal, network. However, the timing was not right.
Do you remember any of your early challenges that you shared with your board?
There was conversation about making sure that we didn't lose our identity. If I was going to stay with the business, would I sell 100% or 50% or 49% or 51%? Understanding where my place and my role was in the new co going forward, how to protect myself with employment contracts. A lot of good input from my fellow board members.
I got a lot of good advice from TAB on the way. I thought I probably knew more about numbers than almost anybody just because of my background in my industry. Doesn't matter. You still need advice, and you need an objective advice, and TAB's been wonderful for that.
TAB did help me, especially with pricing, get that organized to a much more absolute virtue that all companies should have.
Getting it ready before I even knew I wanted to sell it, to a point where it was running smoothly and I had accomplished a lot of the goals that I had set with my TAB board, was really important in positioning it to be able to sell.
And when it became clear that you were going to sell, was your board helpful in that aspect in terms of getting you ready mentally or maybe in the negotiating of it?
That was probably of my whole time with the board, that was the most helpful.
Really what the board helped me with the most was determining when to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was a tough decision. That was the most difficult decision of all, I think. I always felt as though I was going to succeed on the next big deal. And I think as an optimist and as kind of a sales guy, I always believed that I was one step ahead from the big deal. And finally, the board helped me realize, now is a good time to sell.
It was like having a little advisor looking over my shoulder. And when we had our meetings, I'd come in and they'd say, well, okay, what'd you do to move yourself forward in terms of selling the company this month? And I'd say, well, I did this. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, yeah, but you said you were going to do that last month. How come you didn't do that?
The TAB members, as well as yourself, were very instrumental in every step of the process.
Well, I would say the biggest challenge I had personally with the sale was I had worked very hard to, build up the business to where it was. I kind of felt like it was my baby, and
it's hard to let go.
It was really taking the heart out of it, and set that aside and just look at it as a business. Me just getting to the place where I was okay with it, and I had a lot of encouragement from the rest of the team.
So since selling the business, what are you doing now?
Things have turned out great. I sold my business for, a sum where I didn't have to worry about what my next step was going to be in the immediate future. So I gave myself a little bit of runway to determine what I was going to do next. And I had this idea about starting a consulting company, working with some manufacturers in the consumer electronics business. And I hung my shingle out and got a DBA, and it took off immediately.
At the moment, I'm an adjunct professor at Fairleigh Dickinson University.
That's great.
Teaching management information systems. And by the way, Chris, it was you who introduced me to Fairleigh Dickinson.
Oh, thank you.
And that led me to this opportunity.
I sold the business, but didn't want to be out of the business. I had partners, and the sale of the business was very, very easy. Part of the buyout was I took clients of mine, and that was I guess you'd call the seed of Masterworks. And then I started making decisions without anybody's help.
So you didn't have a board at that point?
I decided, to drop out of TAB, and I started making decisions, and It was not a good decision. I mean, I made a lot of bad decisions. The business is a successful business, but it didn't grow the way I wanted it to grow. I didn't join TAB, but I'm seriously considering it. I want to
Rejoining? Oh, good. That's great.
My wife and I met in Colorado, and we've often said that we wanted to go back there. And so when our kids ended up out there in Winter Park, we said, let's see if we can make something happen in that sense. So we've got a house out there, and we will ultimately move out there probably in the next year or so. We were very lucky to have gotten the house that we got. I am literally less than a mile from my two kids. And we can step out the front door and look at the Continental Divide any evening that we want to. And some nights there's just a spectacular pink sunset, and we love it.
It's amazing. Again, living the dream. Would you recommend TAB to other business owners?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
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 Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Would you recommend TAB to other business owners?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. I would say read the E-Myth and then join TAB.
Absolutely, especially if they are sole entrepreneurs and they don't have, as I had, a family member or even a close officer that you could share ideas with and brainstorm. That's most valuable.
In the 2000s, TAB was the single most important personal development thing that I did. I probably have shared more with my TAB group than anybody else I know except my wife, and it has all been good.
I think TAB was a great experience for me, and any owners struggling, not struggling, trying to figure out their place in the world, how to model, remodel, improve their business. I think it's a great place to be to gather good information from peers.
Any parting comments? Any recommendations for other entrepreneurs?
The thing that I didn't think was going to be as important, and the takeaway for me that was way more important than that, was those aha moments. When another member was helping another member, and I wasn't even involved in that conversation, pulling that nugget from what they were talking about, that was probably the most priceless thing. And so I think in trying to explain to other business owners why TAB's so important, it's the things you don't expect to get out of it that were really valuable to me.
When you're dealing with 8 successful business owners, you can't walk out of there without learning, without improving. And I would when people would ask me about TAB, I would explain it to them as it's like my own private board of directors. I was accountable to no one but myself.
Right.
And I wasn't doing a good job of holding myself accountable. So I realized that there was no way that I was going to be able to come to these meetings and not do the things that I said that I was going to do. And that was a tremendous help.
TAB is has been a vital component of my success and my ability really to maintain my sanity while being a small business, and being able to reflect the ups and downs and the challenges amongst other like-minded and similarly experienced people is something that you're not going to get talking to the guy, next to you in the bar, or even talking to your spouses, or, business owners understand business owners. That's it.
Very good. Thank you so much. And we thank you. So thank you very much for doing
My pleasure.
this. So that concludes 2 days of filming at Gray Sky Films. I want to thank all the Gray Sky folks. You guys have been terrific. I want to thank our TAB members for taking the time to do this. This has been wonderful. And best of luck to everyone. Thank you.